So on this episode, I'm experimenting with the jet ski once again. Only this time, what I did was I went out and I went jug fishing off of the jet ski. Trying to see if it's feasible to do that. Turns out it is. Wasn't difficult at all. I also experiment with a cast net throwing off of the jet ski. That was a little more difficult, but completely doable. Even at 5'8", I can still cast over the handlebars without any problem, without hanging the net into the handlebars. The fishing was horrible. They're dropping the lake at a rapid rate during the springtime, probably in anticipation of heavy spring rains, so the lake doesn't flood too bad. So, like I say, they were dropping the lake levels. When they do that, the fishing is horrendous, but I was still able to bring in a catfish. It took a lot of work, but I was able to do it. In this episode, like I said, you'll be able to see that it's feasible to jug fish off of a jet ski and also cast net from a jet ski. Ultimately, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that this jet ski is a platform that's safe enough and stable enough to go offshore out into the Gulf of Mexico and do some fishing either by myself or with one of my kids. I would like to get out to some of those oil rigs just off anywhere from 2 to 4 miles offshore off the Texas coast and get into king mackerel, and maybe if I'm lucky into some red snapper at the base of some of those rigs. But so right now this is a great time, since I live right at the lake, to take it out and experiment with different forms of fishing and see if it works, because I don't want any surprises when I get out in the Gulf of Mexico and I'm 4 miles offshore and then realize shit don't work. So anyways, join me on the little trip and I'll show you how it's done as far as jug fishing off of a jet ski. So with that, let's roll that intro and get after it. Okay, I am really going to be pushing the limits of a jet ski this evening. I'm going to take this thing out and go jug fishing. Jug fishing for catfish. So I have my big net here. Got my Ion Air Pro action camera. I made a little addition to the rod rack since the last time I videotaped putting this thing together. Still have to paint it, obviously, but I cut a cross beam over here, added a T, and put an upright in here because I really didn't like the camera mount situation up near the bow. It was just too close and personal for my liking. So anyways, so I've got an action camera back here, so that ought to work out well. Inside the ice chest, I have a bait bucket and I have 2 jugs over there with weights down in there. I have a fish grip underneath the bait jug and a bait knife. Got a gaff here for big catfish and also for pulling our jug lines up out of the water. We just got to be careful not to be puncturing the jugs. Of course, a couple of life jackets. Alexis may be going out with me, I'm not real sure. Up in the bow, I've got a throw net. We'll probably stop over by the island and do some throw netting for bait. I'm also going to have chicken liver and some leftover ribbon fish from the Gulf of Mexico in case I can't find any bait. I'll have something put on the hooks. But I've got 2 more big jugs. Some of these big jugs, I use empty cat litter jugs. They're about 2 gallons, maybe a gallon and a half to 2 gallons. And man, it would take a monstrous catfish to pull this under the water. It really tires the catfish out quick too, because they have a lot of resistance. So anyways, that is all the gear in this thing, along with 2 adults on here. Like I said, I'm going to be pushing the limits of what a jet ski can do, or at least what this one's intended to do. If it can perform well doing jug fishing for catfish, especially with 2 people on it, then it should do really good for the Gulf of Mexico, trolling around for king mackerel, or maybe even pulling up next to some rigs for some red snapper. So anyways, that's what we're looking at. I'm just waiting for that sun to go down a little bit further. The sun's got to go down enough to where when I put out the bait, I don't have to worry about gar and turtles stripping all my bait. Alright, so that was a big old negative on the catching bait. They're still out there in deeper water, and I'm not quite comfortable enough to start throw netting off of a jet ski loaded down with gear. Always make sure you keep this gaff capped, because it will go into hand. That hurt like hell. Anyways, I'm going to take my leftover ribbon fish from last year's fishing trip down the Gulf, and I'm going to cut it up about 20 pieces. I've got 5 hooks per jug, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right here while I'm up on the bank and standing around. A little easier than doing it out there in the water. Now with this cut bait, I can probably expect to catch stuff like probably blue cats and channel cat. Very unlikely that I'll bring in any flatheads. That's taken care of. Now we'll get this jet ski back out in the water. I see the waves are already starting to calm down a little bit as the sun's going down. Using some pretty good size hooks. My main line is 550 parachute cord. Then my side staging is somewhere probably around 300 pound braided line. I use the old 2-liter pop bottle filled up with concrete for my weight. With concrete weight, 550 parachute cord, big hooks, big jugs, you can handle big fish on this rig. A lot of that store-bought stuff that you see is pretty light gauge gear. A lot of it's twisted line and not braided, and that stuff just doesn't hold up very well at all. So I start at the weights first, and then I work my way down. Catfish is not picky. He's not hooks shy at all. They smell it, they bite it. All right, first jug is set. Let's go find another spot. That was plumb crazy. I threw that throw net over and over, and I caught 2 stinking shad and 1 damn perch. Went and ran my 4 jug lines, and I had to pull 2 pieces of bait off of my jugs just to put the perch, one of the perch and one of the shad on the daggum hooks. Not even turtles are out here biting. Not gar, nothing is biting. Well, I hope it gets better tomorrow. I got 20 hooks out there and I only caught 3 baits, and all my hooks are baited right now. And I had to take 2 baits off and throw them in the lake. That's crazy. I've never had that happen before. Normally the turtles will come through here and strip all the bait off. But anyways, such is life. We'll head back to the boat ramp. Come out here early in the morning again. Alright, that is the first fish boated on this jet ski. Got a cold front coming in. It's going to knock the fishing in the head, so I'm going to pull my jugs in until this cold front comes through, so I don't have to be constantly coming out here and running these baits. Alright. I also gave my rod cooler rack a little custom paint job in order to match the rest of the jet ski. I think it turned out alright. My one little catfish off the jug line. So I'm going to wait till these cold fronts are done blowing through, and then I'm going to reset those jugs out and see if I can't catch some more.